Welcome to the Employment Wednesday podcast with Yvonne Shabangu. Have you heard of the scripture Hosea 4, verse 6? My people perish because of the lack of knowledge. The same applies to your career. When you don't know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it, you are likely to make wrong career choices. But worry not. Employment Wednesdays is here for you to offer you all the answers relating to your career and offer you strategies to develop your career. Enjoy. If you have been wondering what it's like studying at Africa's #1 university, I know you guys are gonna say, how? But UJ is #1 in Africa in its own category, right? We've got different university categories. So in its category, it's #1 institution, and it has actually moved up 13 positions in the impact, higher education impact. It's there by number 23, surpassing most old universities. So if you would like to know what it's like, stay with us in this episode. And also, if you would like to know how to go into software testing, how you can become a software tester or tester analyst, stay with us. And I am your host, Yvonne Shabangu. So today we are seated with Nale Liketo. She is a BA in public management and governance graduate from the University of Johannesburg. And by profession, she is a test analyst at a bank and has an ISTQB Foundation Certificate and an ISTQB Advanced Testing Certificate, and she's a mom and a wife. Thank you so much for honoring my invite. And before we go into the conversation today, we are going to go into the shout outs. So the first shout out goes to at Patience Ngonyama. She says, as someone who's doing their first year in physiotherapy, this really motivated me and it really gave me the change in perspective in that I needed. Shout out to you. And this is on the episode of myself and Boipilo on occupational therapy. And then Tabiseng says, now I have a better understanding of what OT is, such incredible work that Boipelo and others do. And yeah, that's it from my shout out. And then we're going to go into fun facts, right? So fun facts, you guys always love the chat. I've seen even on TikTok, every time I post an episode concerning salaries, like it just skyrockets because everybody wants to know how much everybody is earning. We all want to know, but sometimes in certain instances, salaries are a confidential matter. Even in the workplace, you are actually told not to discuss salaries because they're confidential. But that may change. We're all crossing our fingers because there's a bill that is being discussed concerning disclosure of salaries so that people are actually not unfairly paid or underpaid because maybe of their gender or their skin color or whatever the case may be. So now we all get the opportunity to find out if I move from legal advisor to senior legal advisor, how much am I expecting? We're all getting 40K. I think it's going to help a lot because we do have circumstances where people are underpaid, although they are very much qualified because maybe of their gender or their skin color or whatever the case may be. So we're going to counter that. Nale, what's your thought process around that?
I don't know. It sounds very dangerous.
What do you mean?
So remember, we not paid the same amount, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I could be in the company for 17 years and then there'll be a new start
Mm-hmm.
that'll earn way more than I earn. If salaries are no longer confidential, are they going to pay us all the same? Are they going to lower the salaries of the people that are overpaid?
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder how that's going to work and how people are actually going to feel. Are you going to feel like they actually don't value me? They pay the new people a lot of money. I think it's a good thing so that people get equal pay, but I think it's going to cause a lot of chaos in the beginning.
Yes. It may cause chaos. Actually, now that I think about it, because in as much as, right, we all want to be paid equally, but there's always nuances in between because I can come from a company that pays 450,000 rand and then now obviously when I negotiate I have to negotiate more and you find out that I'm negotiating for the same role but you are getting paid less than me and they still want me for my expertise and it's going to be interesting. It is going to be very interesting. And then now we are going to go into our icebreakers, right? So I'm going to just throw in words and you have to create a story, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. AI.
AI is my friend.
Career,
Career, the best thing that ever happened to me, having a proper career.
Facebook,
No, no. What is Facebook?
Meta,
You matter. You matter.
South Africa,
South Africa, the best country to live in.
banks.
Banks, money, money.
You know, you cheated this game because it's supposed to be a story with this word. You have to connect it. You were just like throwing me sentences like you'll see. You'll have to work with it.
Yeah,
but
no.
it's fine. And then the next one, so I was having this chat with my dad yesterday, right? So we're talking about groove culture and just community and how we treat each other and stuff. So we came to a discussion whereby we spoke about how in some occasions, right, you may find, so I want to know your thought process surrounding this. In some cases, you may find that you don't have like money for groceries, right? You ran out of groceries, or maybe you don't have electricity at home. And then your friend says, come, let's go to Groove, right? And then you actually go with them. Or maybe you just went out to hang out by your hangout spot. And then when you get there, they buy you drinks, right? So I was saying to my dad, no, but if they're buying you drinks and you don't have groceries, you have to ask for grocery. Like, hey, if a person says, hey, let me buy you 6 ice tropes, you'd rather say, no, actually, I don't have food at home. So my dad was like, no, that's strange. Nobody says that. People at group, like people, even a person who's offering to buy you drinks, they'll seldomly want to give you money for groceries. They would rather buy you that drink or alcohol or food. So I want to know, what's your thought process around it? Would you be able, if you had a situation like that where you don't have money for important things, right? And then your friend says, hey friend, let me take you out. Let's go to Monaco or wherever. Let's have a good time. Would you say, no friend, I'd rather have you send me that money for groceries? Or what? What would you do in that situation?
Okay, I think now with the type of friends that I have, they're the friends that will be able to bail me out in any situation. So I think with my close friends, it would be possible to be like, hey, friend, not today, hey, but I actually have this kind of a situation. I would be able to help me out, right? But I think the younger version of me would definitely not do that. I would go out and drink and eat there, come back home.
Come back and have your noodles.
Yeah, no, but I think the older you grow, you know who's your close friends and why they are in your life. And I think we should always be able to be there for each other in every situation. And I think that's the type of friendships I have. You know, we can bail each other out.
Okay, love that. And then you, as far as I know, you went to a war school, ne?
Yes.
How did you end up there? How was your experience like?
So my mom used to work with the kitchening, right?
Okay.
And then my dad also used to work for a church, right? In Centurion. So we also didn't have close family in Centurion. So when my twin and I were 3 years old, the closest crèche to us was an Afrikaans crèche. And then our parents sent us to this crèche. It was called Besige Baitjies. And that's when we started learning Afrikaans there. And then we went to Laerskool Vera Park. And then we ended up in Hoërskool Alderrein. I think my experience there, it was like good and bad, you know, because in primary, in every grade that we were in, there were only 3 Black people, you know. And fortunately, because we had the same surnames, you know, all starting with M, we were all in the same class. But as we went to high school and we took different subjects, sometimes I was the only Black child in the class. And you know, when you have subjects like history and they're talking about apartheid and Mandela, it could become very uncomfortable. And you know, the other kids raising how they feel and also experiencing racism. So you would just have to find a way of how to deal with racism and which teacher, you know, you could speak to, you know. So from my experience now, I'm glad that now schools are like more equal now, where you'd find a lot of Black people and, you know, white people mixed. You know, it's no longer like you're the only white person in class or there's only 3 of you in the whole grade. But I remember when we had our child, we were thinking that, yeah, maybe we should send him to an Afrikaans school. But when I sat down and I thought of my experience, I just was like, no.
I'm not doing that to my child.
No, it's okay.
Do you think it impacted you in any way, finding yourself in circumstances where you are the only Black child, or finding yourself in a circumstance where it's actually Afrikaner dominated, and possibly most of your friends were not black, and how did it impact you also as well relating with other black people?
So I think for me, my life was always like, during the day, I am at an African school. But when I was in grade 4, we moved to Kokasi, right? So I had like a 50-50 balance where I was with white people and then I go back home to black people. And also at home, we used to speak Sotho, there was no like get home and then you speak English or Afrikaans. But it did help me to build character,
Okay.
to be able to stand up for myself. And also it helped also in the work environment, in my first company that I worked for, in the division that I was working for, I was also the black person in that division. And me being able to speak Afrikaans, it was easier to communicate with people. So it did help me, even just building character.
I love that. So you're a desirable candidate. In our profession, we've got a very big problem where most roles say one needs to speak Afrikaans. And sometimes you're just like, oh my God, why didn't I go to an Afrikaans school? But gay, there are people like you who have the benefit. And what is your fondest memory of high school?
High school. I think for me, when I got to high school, when I saw more black people, I was so excited,
Okay,
I think,
relatability.
so just having more black people, colored Indians around me. And then I was able to form more friendships, like with people that I understand better. Because I also didn't have a lot of friends, it was just like, you had that one or two friends, but in high school, I actually had a lot of friends. So I think that's one thing where I think I enjoyed high school more than primary school.
Okay. So you were able to diversify basically your portfolio to say,
Yes.
you know what, now I can be friends with people from different cultural groups.
Yes.
And then what did you want to be when you were in high school?
I was so confused. So the school I went to had so many subjects. Hey,
Okay.
so we had gasvryheid, which is like cooking. So they teach you how to cook and bake, and then there were technical drawings where you can go and like learn how to draw stuff like architecture stuff. And then we had IT and computer science.
Yeah.
And then business and economics. So in grade 8 and 9, you go through everything. You have all the subjects, accounting or whatever, and there you kind of have a feel of I don't know, because I remember I did IT. And I failed. The exam, we had to go and use HTML to build a clock that would roll into the screen. Mine didn't make it very far. So I really didn't think I would end up in the IT industry. I thought to myself, maybe I'm going to go into teaching. But I remember when I was younger and it was career day and I told my mom I want to be a teacher, she didn't really agree with me.
Why?
Well, I don't know. I think I was too young and I didn't ask her, and so I never really found out, why my mom was like, teaching,
not
but
sure.
as black kids, the people around you are teachers, nurses. So that was the only
Policeman,
thing,
yeah.
that I was like close to. But I think with the high school that I went to, universities used to come in and speak to us, and you used to say, there's so many things that you still didn't know. And I was like, you know what? I don't qualify to go and study business management because of my marks, but I saw it was one of the subjects for PMG. So I thought, you know what? Let me just do PMG. And then with my honors, I would go and continue into doing business management. And then I'll just go into the business world, maybe be a BA, and see how that goes.
Okay. Did high school prepare you for university?
Sure, university was difficult, hey? That was the first time I failed in my life. So for me, I think because I've been with the same kids in primary and everyone, 90% of us went to the same high school.
Okay.
And then 90% of my high school kids went to UP. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm not going to go to UP because I need to just, mingle with different types of people and, move away from the people that I know. And then I went and applied at UJ. And I studied in English for the first time in my life, in varsity, right?
Wait a minute. Let's linger there. Are you saying, so at what school you guys were being taught in Afrikaans?
Yes.
Like math and everything?
Everything was in Afrikaans. Like from
Hectic.
grade 1 up until grade 12, I studied in Afrikaans, all my subjects.
Shucks.
So when I got to UJ and it was English, I was like, ooh, actually, I didn't think about this properly, hey? And that was the first time I failed. And I failed business management, the one subject that I was like, you know what, I'm going to do my honors in. So I think for me, that was very difficult. I was like, I don't know if high school really prepared me for this, or maybe because I didn't go to UP and continue to study in Afrikaans. That's why it took me longer to understand and study. So I would say 50-50, they did try and prepare us, teach us about different careers, have varsities come and visit us and so on. But yeah, I think it's like a 50-50 there.
Okay. So you mentioned how hard it was for you to then now familiarize yourself with learning in English. How did that moment shape you or change you as an individual?
I think for me, going to university was a way to make sure that, I can help and provide at home, right? Because we don't have parents, and my older brother had to give up going to study because when he was in matric, that's when my mother passed away, right? So he had to go and find a job to be able to assist us. And then he was like, you know what? You guys need to go and study so that you can be able to take care of yourself. So for me at that moment, I was like, am I going to fail? Am I going to disappoint my siblings?
Yeah.
Will I be able to finish my degree to be able to help back at home? But at that moment, I was like, you know what? Just do it, girl. Even if it takes you longer, you have to make it. So I think it really helped me to push myself as well.
Okay. And what are some of the things that you did to actually get yourself into the groove of learning in English, given that you were used to Afrikaans?
So there wasn't much I could do here. It was just like sit down and read this book and understand it, because you learn business management in Afrikaans. It's besigheidstudies. The words are so different. And now you have to go and understand what this means. And then now you have to sit there with a dictionary as well to be like, okay, cool. What's this? Then you need to go and translate it into Afrikaans and be like, oh, okay, I actually know this, So I just had to sit down and make it work. There was nothing much I could do. University, how it is. You're all in a big room. They teach you, it's out. You need to go do your assignments, need to go do your work. So just had to make it work.
And when did you finally find your feet where you're like, okay, now we are cruising nicely?
I think only in third year.
Okay.
Only in third year when you've seen the same terms over and over and over and again. You're like, okay, cool. I think I'm doing okay now. But yeah, because I think also failing 2 subjects in my first year took a knock on me, and I was like, I don't know if I can do it. Now I'm carrying over the subjects, and now it's more work for me to do. So in my final year, when they were like, okay, no, you actually have to now drop 2 subjects, I was like, okay, cool, now I have more time to focus on my other subjects. So I think in my final year, I was like, yeah, now I'm getting into the
cruising
groove.
nicely. And then what did you think you would become, given that you've chosen PMG? What was your plan? Did you know your career options?
So for PMG, I wasn't very sure about my career option because I was like, you know what, I'm not even going to focus on PMG. I'm going to get this PMG degree, but I'm going to go and do my honors in business management. But unfortunately, that was the one subject that I actually dropped in my final year.
Why did you drop it? Because you seem to have interest and you seem to have loved it.
Sure. I was like, you know what, if I continue with the subject, it's going to take me another year. And I already had taken out a loan that my brother had to take for me, right? And I was like, you know what? I can't expect him to take out another loan for another year for me. So I have to think about this, strategically. If I at least can just have my PMG degree, there's a lot of opportunities that I saw, even in my final year. But, back then you had to go drop off your CV and as an 83 form, So for every department that I saw, PMG degree, public administrator, I was going to apply. So I was like, you know what, it's fine. I'm going to go be a public administrator. And then if I'm there and I'm not happy, I'll further my studies. So yeah, I used to drop off my CVs like every Wednesday because I used to work in retail back then.
Every Wednesday, employment Wednesdays. Okay, yeah.
So yeah, that was my off day in retail was Wednesday. So
okay,
I
love
used to
that.
drop off.
And then now, what is your fondest memory of university, and what did university teach you about you?
So my fondest memory in university was just the experience. Hey, for me, with the background that I come from, and also being the first one of my mother's kids to go to varsity, just walking into UJ and seeing, it's so big, and then you walk into a classroom and then you're being taught and you're just like, actually, this is a big opportunity because a lot of people get rejected. People sit at home after matric. So my memory was just like walking into UJ, and I was like, wow, I am actually in university. So yeah, no, that was a big moment for me.
Love that. And so what was your first job? So you finish, you graduate. How did that, now that you were, your biggest goal was to finish the degree, how did you feel when you finished the degree, when you walked that stage?
Yo, it was such a proud moment and a sad moment, but my siblings came with me. I remember I was working in retail, so I worked at a spectacle store, Togo Optical. So I used to work with them for them during school holidays and weekends. So I asked them, can I please just come and work for you guys? Because I think I sat home for 2 days and I was like, this is
It's
depressing.
not gonna work.
So then I went to work for them. And I remember actually paying off the student loan that my brother took out on my behalf, and also had to save to buy my suit for my graduations. So it was a very proud moment having my siblings there with me. I remember my sister works in retail. My brother also works for one of the big companies, and they had to take leave. So when you like, oh, people are taking leave for me.
Important.
It was a big moment for me. I remember walking the stage, my twin sister, cheering for me.
You have a twin sister?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So yeah, it was a big moment for me. It was a very proud moment for my siblings as well. So yeah, no.
Okay. And then now, since you get done with your graduation, then you work at Toga. When do you start using your degree? When do you start making decisions that actually like impact your career, or how do you pivot? When do you pivot?
Okay, I don't actually think I've ever used my degree, but I think it helped me, yeah, it's up for sale if anyone wants it. So
If only we could buy degrees, hey? I'll just buy my doctorate.
So yeah, I've never really used my PMG degree. I used to drop off my CVs, to be able to get a job in PMG. But unfortunately, no one ever called me.
For real?
Yeah, I'm for real. Like I used to print, and in retail you don't earn a lot, hey. But my boyfriend, who's my husband now, he used to give me money to go print CV, to go drop off these things. So yeah, you a batch and you go just drop off in boxes and whatever. But I think my degree actually helped me to get my testing job, right?
Okay.
How I got into the testing job is I used to go drop off my CVs, and I was in a business park. And then I met one of the company CEOs, and he asked me, what are you doing here, during the day? And I'm like, no, I came to Sage to drop off my CV. And he's like, oh, okay, we're actually looking for testers. Would you be interested? And I was like, what?
What's a tester?
What's a tester? And why would someone just offer me a job, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, this can't be real. And he's like, okay, cool. Here's my email. Here's my business card. Send me an email, and then we'll organize interview, And I got home and I told my boyfriend, but I didn't believe all of this. And I was like, we'll see. And then I got an email actually from a receptionist telling me, you have a interview, please come. And I actually went. It was a proper interview. So yeah, they told me, we know you have a PMG degree, but we're looking for testers. If you think you can do it, we're willing to give you the job and teach you everything on the job.
And you didn't have the qualifications, requirements, nothing.
I didn't even know what testing was at that point. I
God
went there, I
has
Googled.
Okay, so then how did that moment also make you feel, knowing that possibly at that time you were not qualified for this position, but this position almost lands on your lap? What did that teach you?
So it taught me that, even if you don't have a clear plan and you just want to be able to provide for your family, get up, go drop off your CVs. Maybe someone at a company will be able to give you an opportunity, right? I know now it doesn't work like the olden days where you drop off your CVs, but try on LinkedIn, message people, but be clear. Someone will be say hi and they disappear. Go into LinkedIn, give the person a clear message of, hi, this is who I am, this is my qualifications, this is what I want. Would you be able to give me an opportunity? Sometimes even if it's not a paid opportunity, take it, just shoot your shot, you never know.
No, love that. And then how was your experience when you were learning to test? Because, this is a completely new thing to you. You've never heard of it, and now you have to get on the job. How was that experience like?
Yo, I had the best experience here. The people there, they were so friendly. I remember when I started there, it was only the dev team. So it was a building with 2 sides. On the other side, it was the dev team. And then on this side was the call center.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on the call center side because I was the first tester there. My manager at the time, Sunet, she taught me everything. She was very patient. They gave me access to their websites and they were like, just play with it, click through it, learn about it, and even the devs, they were like very patient with me. Hey? I think it was really like, I didn't have issues, to be honest. Everyone was just willing to help.
Okay. And what does a tester do? What do you guys do?
Okay, so a software tester is someone that goes and checks the quality of software, right? So a developer will go and develop an app. So, for example, let's say a bank is looking for an app and they want you to be able to send money using the app, right? So the developer will go and develop this app. My job is to make sure that this app actually works, right? You can log into the app, see your balance, send money to people, receive money. So I test the app from the beginning, from how it looks. I must check that this is actually the design, the logo is perfect, it's sitting where it should sit. You should be able to log in. I check the password combinations, check that you can have the correct combination. And if it doesn't, then I need to let the developers know that, no, please make sure that they can check that they have a strong password or if this password is too weak. And then from there, I need to check landing screen. How does it look? Does everything function? Is everything aligned? Can you make a transaction successfully, right?
Okay.
So my job is to make sure that the app works 100%.
So does every industry have particular testers, or is it just you can be a tester anywhere and anyhow? Like, is it industry required or... Yeah.
So when I started working, my first job was a software tester in the healthcare industry, right?
Okay.
So when I started working, I thought, okay, cool, maybe I'm going to test only apps in the healthcare industry, right? But as a software tester, you should be able to test any app that they give to you, right? But remember, for companies, they will tell you, preferably, we require someone that has been in the banking industry because then it's easier because you have the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
But as a tester, especially senior testers, you should be able to test any app. So if they wake you up and say, here's documentation, read it, test the app, you should be able to test the app, because testing is just checking the quality. So we all should know what testing quality is, right? But, in the banking industry, they ask you to test different things. In the healthcare industry, they ask you to test different things.
Okay. And what are the requirements of becoming a tester, just in case my employer decides?
Okay, so the traditional way of becoming a software tester is you need to have IT degree or diploma. That's what they require from you. Anything in the IT industry, your BScs, IT, information technology, that's what they require, right?
Yeah.
But once you've been in the industry and you have some work experience, they would require you to have your ICQB foundation level certificate. So that one is a minimum, right? If you want to further your testing knowledge, you can do the other ICQB certificates. There's a lot of other certificates: automation, test manager, test analyst. For some companies, they require the higher ones for you to be able to be promoted, right?
Okay.
That's why also I have the advanced test analyst one, because when I was working at Durban, they required that for my performance review.
Okay. And then Bali Patela Shap.
You guys,
what is the salary range?
Actually, you guys know for now, it's still confidential.
Not yours.
Yeah, guys. So I think it depends. So we could be in the same position and not earn the same amount, because it depends. Like, if there's someone that job hops every year, of course they're gonna earn more than you. But market-related salary is anything from 11,000 to 30,000 for your juniors. But remember also, if you're working in a small company, they're not gonna pay you the same amount as people that work in big companies. But honestly speaking, there are people that get paid well, especially if you do automation testing.
Okay, love that. And then now, so am I able to just go into it? Because I know you are an exception, right? But is there a way I can go into it without the IT degree? via your short courses and stuff? Can I just get the certifications and start applying for jobs?
So unfortunately, having the ICQB Foundation certificate doesn't guarantee you a job, right?
Okay.
So if there's an internship position, remember, if you have ICQB, you are competing with someone that did a BSc Information Science. So they would prefer them over someone with an ICQB certificate. But it's also not impossible. There are people that do get jobs with only the ICQB certificate, right? So I know in my company, we have a lady that just joined us. She used to work, because it's a bank, she used to work in the desktop support team. And there she asked the manager, can I please go and assist the testing team, you know? So after hours, or like if a manager gives her time off and be like, okay, today you can get 2 hours off, you can go and assist the testing team. And also she did her ICQB. So some companies want to see that you actually putting in the effort to be able to be a tester, right?
Okay.
So unfortunately, if you work for a company where there is no IT department, it's not easy for you to be able to learn the skill, right? Because our career is all about actual skill, right? Having the ICQB Foundation certificate is just teaching you the standards, you know, the international standards, but it requires you to have hands-on experience, right? So that's why most companies would want people with experience, but there are companies that would hire you, you know, and give you the opportunity. You just have to find them.
Okay. So I think what I'm also getting here is that and not just for being a tester, right? I think if you want to pivot, what you can do is in your current company, see if there's a department that does what you want to pivot into. And when you have capacity, then ask them to say, hey, can I help? Can I do this for you guys? Then maybe give it 6 months. Then after that, you've accumulated experience. Then you can also start applying at other companies or in that particular department. There's a time you moved to Durban, right? You move, was it because you got an opportunity? Tell us about that.
Okay, so I remember when I was still in the first company, I was like, okay, I think now it's time for me to move, right? And I used to apply a lot. And I was just so frustrated because finding a job is difficult, you know, and finding a job in the bigger companies are even more difficult, you know, especially if you don't have the IT degree. And one day this lady just inboxed me. She's a recruiter and told me, would you be willing to move to Durban? There's a position there. They're looking for a software tester. And I didn't know the company, and I was like, hey, another scam. Yo, wait.
Hey,
Yeah, no. But then I went to the developers and I asked them, and I was like, there's a company called Rivco, and they want me to come for an interview. And he was like, Rivco, no, you have to go. They give you free food, you know? And I was like, what? Okay, free food. Okay. So yeah, that's how I got my Durban job. It was through a recruiter. So I had my first interview with them, and then they were like, okay, cool, we like you. We would like to fly you down for you to meet the team and have another interview. My flight was delayed, so luckily it wasn't like an intense interview. I just got there and I met the team, and a few days later I did get my offer. So yeah, that's when I relocated to Durban to go test for Durban.
And what was the transition like? I mean, you were from Joburg, Pretoria, right? And possibly you've not been, had you been to Durban at the time?
No.
You're not been in Durban, and you're Sotho, ne? You're Sotho, you're African speaking. And now you moved to Durban. Durban is Zulu dominated, right? And now you're moving into a new job, new environment, new culture. How did that transition change you? What did it teach about yourself? And how was that experience like?
Okay, so first of all, I remember when they gave me my offer, I asked my husband and I was like, can you please just check if I can be able to afford to live there, first of all, right? Because now, remember, I was still living at home, water comes out of the tap, you know, like everything is just there. Now I'm going to live on my own, pay bills, you know. So first I had to go check, can I actually afford to move there? Can I make it work? And also now you're just like, I want to live close to work because I don't know this environment. I don't know where I'm going. And the company is in Umhlanga, and you're just like, oh my word, how am I going to afford rent in Umhlanga?
Hey, and Umhlanga is like the high enders there.
Yeah, and then also trying to find a place while you're still here. And
Yeah.
then some people like, no, we can't give you because people come and say they want places, and when they have to move in, they don't come. And I was like, no, I desperately need a place.
Yeah.
And luckily I got a place, so I paid my deposit while I was still this side. My husband drove me down.
Hey, present husbands.
Bona, bona. I remember, and then got there. We went to buy a bed, so we had to sleep on the floor that day, and it was only delivered the following day.
Yeah.
But then moving to Durban was difficult, because now it's just Zulu speaking people. I don't know Zulu.
Yeah.
You get into shops and you say Dumelang, and they're just like, say that, Now you have to be like, Sanbonan, figure out how to say you want the bed in Zulu. And also just, missing home. There's a lot of things like acha, you can't find acha easily there, But luckily on my first day, a lady was like, let me come and introduce you to someone that comes from Pitor,
Okay.
And I was like, what? And that's where I met my best friend. And then, things just got easier because she was also like, you know what, come weekend, let me go show you around. She came and picked me up. I didn't have a car. She showed me around and be like, this is where you buy this is where you get this. So she was very helpful. So I think just having someone I can relate to helped a lot.
That's beautiful. I was having a chat with one of my friends and I was saying, so I'm multilingual, like I can speak
nice.
a lot of languages, right? And so she was saying to me, but why are you so invested in just knowing every language? Like, I'd rather have a person speak their language and I answer in my language or answer in a universal language so that I learn their language, right? And I was saying the thing is, South Africa is very diverse. You could find yourself having to move to, like you had to go to Mklang. And now you can't even say Sanbonani. You can't even... use the basic language, the basic words, So I think people at home, it's important if you live in this country, please be multilingual. It's not enough to know English and your mother tongue. Just know 4 or 5 languages so that you are also adaptable, because sometimes I feel like if you don't know other languages, it does lead to some sort of isolation. When you get to the workplace now, you don't know who to talk to, which group to hang out with, because now you are Sotho and they can't speak. And we know Zulus are very strict.
The last time I used the taxi going to work, here you like short left, and I don't know, they were like, after in Zulu there, and he like he passed work, and I was like, I'm never taking a taxi again. So from that day I Ubered, and taxi was like 5 rand, but I was like, I'm gonna Uber.
I'm not doing this again.
I'm not doing this again.
No, I think it's very important to be multilingual. I think one of the most beautiful things I appreciate about my current job, I get to speak in Swati, Ndebele, Xhosa, English, and I just maneuver in between. And it's so beautiful because I know that any space that I go to, I can speak whatever language is spoken there, and I'm happy, Tell us about a day in a testing analyst, a day in your life. What time do you wake up? What do you do? Your TikToks, guys, they will make you question your job. You would want to email Mpati and be like, hey, other companies are doing nice things for their employees.
Okay, a day in my life. So currently the team that I work for, it's very chilled, guys. So a day in my life, so they require me to be in the office twice a week.
Okay.
Any office. So because it's a big bank, we have offices all over South Africa.
Yeah.
So you just go to the bank that's closest to your house.
Okay. Nice.
So our stand-up is 9 o'clock. That's our first meeting. So I just need to make sure 9 o'clock I'm logged in, right? So in the morning I can go help my husband if he needs my help, drop our child off and so on. So yeah, I'll wake up. First meeting will be stand-up. And then in stand-up you just say what you did yesterday and what you're going to do today and just raise any issues that you may have. And then after stand-up I just take my calendar for the day. Do I have any meetings or not? And it also depends. We have 2-week sprints, so it's a 2-week cycle of our work. So I'll be waiting for the developers to give me my stories. While they're developing the stories, I go and I write my test plan and my test case, right? So my test case is basically step by step what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to log in, check this, and then if everything on the test case passes, I pass my test case, right? So I write my test cases, send them to the system analyst and business so that they can just be like, okay, you're on the right track. This is what you need to check. Write my test plan. And then once the dev gives me my stories, they'll put it in our first environment, which is int. I will go and test my stories, right? So I need to take evidence that I actually did test it, either screenshots or a video to be like, okay, cool, everything worked. And then that will be between 3 and 4 days. And then we'll move to our next environment, right?
Okay.
So the next environment will be the last testing environment for the testing team. Go check everything again, make sure everything passes, capture your test evidence, and then we go and store it in a place where everyone can have access to it, right? Once that is done, we join the system analyst in a UAT session where they do tasting with business, and business be like, we happy. And then when that cycle ends, we have production deployment, right? So it happens at night because it's a bank and we're hoping you guys are not online.
We're not sleeping, we're checking our money.
So then we deploy to production. Once we deploy in production, I need to go check in production as well, right? But we're not allowed to go play in production every day. It just happens on production night. We go and check, okay, cool, whatever we put in production works. Maybe it was an enhancement. We needed to add a new feature to the bank.
Yeah.
So we just go check it works. And one important thing is regression. So regression is making sure everything else still works, even though we've implemented this new change, right? And then we also need to take evidence of that to make sure that, you know what, everything is working. And then that's basically a day in my life.
Okay, what time do you guys knock off?
You know, guys getting fired.
You never knock off.
So actually, in the company that I work for, right?
Yeah.
Because most of us have kids and we married, we do respect each other's time.
Okay.
So our core hours, you need to make sure that you are there during the day from the stand-up time, 9 to 3 o'clock, just make sure you are there available, right? But our working hours is from 8 to 5. And then if you need to be excused, you are more than welcome to let the team know. Guys, please excuse me from this meeting. I will be in a doctor's appointment. When you come back, just let the team know, guys, I'm back. And also, you do know when you're working overtime. So it's not like they just wake you up and like, come, wake up, So everything is planned. So you know if you're working on a release that's on a weekend, you know if you're working on a Thursday. So I would say we do have that work-life balance, Everything is very structured.
Love that. I think after this, I'm doing my motivation for you. What is the hardest thing about your job?
You guys, like testing a very difficult feature. I remember when I was working at Durban, I was testing a progressive game, right? And this was one of the games that they haven't developed in more than 10 years, right?
Yeah. Now,
the people that were working on this job, on this type of game are gone, or there's a few of them left and they can't really remember that much, And at that time, I remember I was not even a senior tester, right? I was still a junior tester and they gave me this game. And I remember sitting in a room and they told us what went wrong with the previous one, right? And they said someone won a jackpot in a different currency that they were not supposed to. So it means if you have a lower currency and you won it maybe in a higher currency, now you're getting a bigger payout, whereas you bet,
you should.
that you shouldn't. And I was like, yo, this cannot happen to me while I'm the test lead on this game. So I went and I released this game. And when you release the game, you now sit and wait and you start dreaming about everything that can go wrong on this game when it goes live, right? And I remember we also had regulations. So we need to be regulated in every country. For example, in UK, they'll tell you we need the 18 logo sign on every screen of the game, right? So we need to go check it's on every screen of the game. No under 18s should be able to play this game. If you miss it on one screen, your company gets fined. It's a big fine. So it was always stressful to make sure that, we're testing correctly. We have our test evidence, because if something goes wrong in production and you say it passed, you need to have that test evidence, right? So that's one thing that I've learned as a tester, that you need to cover yourself. Right. Always have your test evidence. Always have your facts correctly. So yeah, it's stressful being a tester. I know on social media we make it look fancy.
Yeah, you guys are always looking cute and stuff.
Yeah. So if something goes wrong, no one will mention a dev or essay or anything. It'll always be the testing team that they test this feature.
And what do you love the most about your job?
I think when I started testing, I used to love breaking the system. But now that I'm getting older, I'm like, guys, I hope there's no issues. I hope we just, test pass, everything goes through. But I think within my current team, I just love the team spirit. I love working with the people that I'm working with currently. I love that I have opportunities to learn, So I never thought I would get into the banking industry because I've been applying for years, like over 5 years, and they were just like reject. So I think now I just enjoy being in my space.
And why didn't you stop applying? I mean, being rejected for 5 years.
Because I've always said, guys, I'm going to work for this bank. This one that I'm working for, I was like, I'm working for this bank. I remember when I updated my LinkedIn, someone that I used to work with at Durban was like, Nale, you've always said you're going to work for this bank, you know? So I was like, you know what? Even though they always list there on the job spec, we prefer someone with banking industry. I was like, I'm going to apply and I'm going to prove myself in the interview. So I was like, you know what? I'm not giving up. It was painful. And at some point, I'm like, you know what? You're just applying. They'll never take you. But I was like, I'm not going to give up. One day is one day.
So you kept going.
Yes.
And what is that one movie you would recommend all of us to watch?
I don't watch movies.
What do you watch? Podcast? Do you listen to podcasts?
I watch TikTok.
Okay, who's your current favorite TikToker?
I'd say Grace Montana.
Okay.
She's good. She's the GOAT. I think people should give her flowers. Looking at how she edits. You know, if you do edit videos, you would understand how difficult it is to edit, get different angles, get different fonts and shots and, you know, all of these things. I think she is creative and she is good at what she does.
We love her, Kesana. A special shout out, Grace Montana. And then what skill do you think every person should learn?
I think communication, to be able to communicate, you know, it's very important. Even if you go into interviews, if you're able to communicate clearly so that people can understand what you're saying, you know, even if you don't have the right skills, but just to express yourself and to be able to communicate with people, it's very important.
Okay. And what is the season of your life?
Yo, I don't know. Like, it's a mixture.
Tell us about your mixture.
It's a mixture. I think for me, I'm living my dream at the moment. You know, you know, as a person, you sit and you dream and you'd be like, I want to work for this company. I want to be married. I want to have kids. And I think for me right now, I just live in those prayers. You know, even though they are ups and downs, you know, in life. But I think just, you know, having my siblings are so supportive, you know, like it's very dangerous to have all my siblings' numbers, you know, like if someone achieves something, that's all you see in the same thing the whole day, you know. And my husband just, you know, supporting me, you know, he's also busy with his career, but also me saying I want to be a content creator and I have a full-time job. He just supports my crazy ideas, you know. And just my child as well. He's very funny, Shem. He's at that point where he's asking me why mommy, and you know, he's challenging me, asking me stuff that I don't know. So I think I'm just in that part of my life where I'm just like, you know what, yeah, it's God. It's really God.
I love that. Nale, living the dream.
Yes.
Thank you so much for honoring my invite. We really learned a lot, and I do wish you all the best, man. I'd asked you something. I'd asked you to. Did you manage to prepare it?
Yes.
The list of. So I don't know. I'm just gonna give you the opportunity to share where people can apply. So if you want to be a tester or you're looking for an internship or the opportunity to go into testing, she's gonna share with us where you can apply. So over to you.
Yeah. So you guys need to make sure that you follow me. I do have also plugs, you know, in between my videos that I plug you guys with. I recently plugged people with the with the iLab internship. They are now finalizing the interview processes, but they're also looking for manual testers in Johannesburg. They have 6-month contracts and 12 months contract at iLab, right? They also have 6 months and 12 months contracts for Cape Town people. So please make sure go on to iLab on LinkedIn and go apply for those positions. And then for people that are looking for internships, BBD is a very good company. If you're doing anything in the STEM industry, you know, your science, technologies, math and science, those type of things, please make sure you go and apply. They don't have a closing date. They specified that they have limited positions. As soon as they fill these, they would close this internship. So they're looking for people in their final year. So they have competitive salaries, great bonuses. So please make sure you go and apply there. And I also saw that Standard Bank is also having a graduate program. Please make sure you go and apply. Please make sure you read also the instructions and everything. Follow it to the T, guys. Make sure your CVs and everything is presentable and you have all the correct information. Check your spelling, you know, those type of things matters. And also just make sure on every Wednesday,
Employment Wednesdays.
this Wednesday thing. Every Wednesday I post jobs for that week on my Instagram stories, right? So I posted only to my close friends because, I'm a content creator. So I don't want it to overshadow my Instagram page. But if you follow me and you're a close friend, you should be able to see these positions. I paste the link in there for you so you can directly apply for the position. And also make sure you follow me, guys, because I have partnered with iLab in the past. Last year, we're giving away one ICQB certificate where you'll be able to go and study for free. Attend the course, get your certification with them. So hopefully in the future, I would be able to partner with them for such things. But yeah, guys, all the best.
Okay, thank you so much. So I'll put in her handles, her Instagram handle and her TikTok handle. Then you guys can actually follow for more instruction. But I'm sure she was very clear. And then it's July. We are in Mandela month. Make sure you do your part to be kind, to give back. Don't just wait for the 67 minutes, but make sure that you're making a difference every single day of your life. Make sure that somebody is smiling because of you, and make sure that somebody's doing better because of you. And you are welcome to like, subscribe, share, and comment. Don't forget to use the thank you options. Cheers.